The Damnoen Saduak Floating Market. Located 100 kilometers southwest of Bangkok in the Ratchaburi district, attracts both Thai and foreign visitors alike who visit the market to shop, eat, and absorb the atmosphere of the floating market, one that hasn't changed in a century. But why floating markets? Thailand is known for their elephants. I'm sure people could just ride an elephant to the local market. Well, to answer that, let us go back in time. In the past, due to the lack of roads and cars, daily commerce were conducted along these rivers and canals. These canals, or khlongs, can also refer to man-made canals. The canals were not just useful for transportation, they also helped in mitigating floods and was a source of water for irrigation, fishing, and household uses. The early European visitors called Bangkok the Venice of the East because of its vast khlong network. The main occupation of the local Thai people was agriculture. They relied on the khlongs to trade their products with the nearby communities. The khlongs were full of farmers on their boats selling their wares. This way of trading, where the goods are sold on boats, came to be known as a floating market. The best known floating market today is the Damnoen Saduak Floating Market. The khlong Damnoen Saduak was built in 1866 during the reign of King Rama IV, who wanted to link the Maeklong river with Thai Chin to support transportation and trade. The khlong is over 35 kilometers long and has over 200 branches. This is the longest and straightest canal in Thailand. The khlong took over 2 years to dig and was inaugurated on the 25th of May 1868 during the reign of King Rama V. Visitors to the Damnoen Saduak Floating Market get a fairly authentic glimpse of what life and trade was like along the khlongs. There are a few exceptions though. For one, there were no foreigners at the floating market, just the local people from the nearby communities exchanging their agricultural products. Another difference is that in the early days, the locals exchanged their agricultural products using the barter system. It was much later on when the locals adopted other forms of trading. Last but not the least, there were no motorboats. In fact, there was no need to manually paddle the boats either. Due to the sheer volume of people at the market, one would just have to grab the boat next to them and pull their way up or down the khlong. The market started attracting people from outside the community. In 1967, the market was opened to tourists as the Damnoen Saduak Floating Market. Motorboats were introduced to meet the demands of the modern tourists and the tour operators, who wanted to spend about 45 minutes to an hour at the market. The local people too adapted to the growing number of tourists. In addition to their agricultural products, they also started to sell clothes, food, and souvenirs. Not all floating markets were as lucky as the Damnoen Saduak Floating Market. The development of Thailand's road and railway network led to the decline in the popularity and the eventual closing down of many floating markets. Many of the khlongs in Bangkok have been filled in and paved over. The remaining ones are used for water transportation and for flood mitigation. The floating markets you see around Thailand today are remnants of the past for the local Thai people and tourists to experience.